has got into the crack, and over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, and in some cases, in some caves, millions of years, created every little shape. Every contour that you can actually see has been sculptured by water over phenomenal numbers, okay? Every nook and cranny. Now, as I said, we don't touch. I'm going to say, can you guys down the back hear me okay? Yep, okay. I'm going to say maybe 2, 3, 4 times a year. It depends on the weather. The lower levels of this cave actually fill up with water, and the water actually does flow through this area here. This stuff that you can see on either side of the footpath has all been washed into the cave. It's all part of the sedimentary dam. You guys from the US, just out of interest, you've got the longest cave in the world.
Is that one you're Mammoth Cave?
Mammoth Cave. Yeah, Mammoth Cave. It's in Kentucky. Yeah. Now, at the moment, Mammoth Cave is the same length as the drive from Auckland down to Wellington. 600 kilometres in a cave, and they're still finding more cave. Now, Mammoth Cave is one of those caves that, look, you can just about say in its entire length, it has actually very few formations. Very few at all. Okay. Most of the cave, zilch, none. This one here, look, most people get here and they think, geez, stalactite. Not a stalactite actually. A stalactite's up here. It's got a very small hole up the centre where the water comes down the centre. This one here, water flows over the top, so it's actually a piece of flowstone. Now that formation, because the water flows quickly when it is flowing, you end up with that very sparkly cauliflower-like texture. Hey, you will notice too, up on the roof in front of us here, we've got a lot of stalactites, but on the floor there's actually very few stalagmites. The reason for this is that water, when it drips off the roof, it has to land on something hard. Because it lands on the soft sediment, you just end up with those little holes in the floor. This spot in front of us is one of only 2 places in the cave that when we were building the path, we actually had to dig down through the floor just to get you under this low spot. Now for some of you, we didn't quite dig far enough, so just watch your head. Little Columbine's lonesome.
Have you been to Mammoth Cave?
No. I've actually been to the US, but I've never been into a cave in the US.
Oh.
My trips to the US were always with my last job. So it was always to New York, Charlotte, and Atlanta.
I was supposed to go to Carlsbad Caverns once, but I got sick and couldn't go.
Okay.
Hopefully someday.
Yeah.
Have you heard
America,
of this?
yeah, oh yes, very much so. America's a massive country, and there's a lot of things in America that I want to go and see.
Yeah.
Most of them are not cities actually. You know, I'd like to go and see Yellowstone and Grand Canyon and all that kind of thing. Hey, you can't actually see it here, but up above us, we've got 2 other entrances into the cave. Now, when it rains, this cave here changes completely. Okay, the last time we had good rain here was about 2 months ago. Water physically flowing over the footpath, water flowing behind me, and 3 waterfalls appeared from the roof of the next chamber. Now, when you see the roof of the next chamber, you'll understand exactly what I'm on about. The sound down here on those days is quite spectacular. If you would like spectacular sound in this cave today, see that one there? As you're walking past it, if you walk up to it with your head, like this, as hard as you possibly can, I've actually heard this one here swear in 17 different languages. Honestly, you try it, it works. No? You'd be amazed at the number of people that still hit their head on that one. Now, does anybody know what this area here is actually called?
Cathedral?
Done. The cathedral. The largest part of the cave is the cathedral. Now, look, this here is nothing. Where I live, there's a cave called Hollow Hill. Hollow Hill is actually long enough, wide enough, and high enough to fit a ship.
Wow.
Okay? Largest chamber in any cave anywhere in the world is in a cave in Vietnam. Now, this particular cave has been a tourist cave for many years, but 1991, a Welsh caving club was exploring a side passage and they came across this one chamber. Okay, who's been to New York? Get your head around this one. A cavity underground started from nothing, created by water that is physically large enough to contain a New York City block, including the skyscrapers. So, you know, this is zilch. When you look around here, it is pretty obvious that is where the water came into the cave. Mm-hmm. That there is where it used to go, and they're both sort of the same size. Why did this all of a sudden change and become so much bigger?
You got blocked off.
Opposite, sort of, really. Remember I said there's two other entrances? Mm-hmm. There's one there, and there's one here. So a long time ago, dunk, 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 three relatively good water sources merging in the same spot, and just the turbulence slowly chewed this out of the limestone.
Oh, wow.
We drove down the farm road to stop, and I stopped and said the rock was running one way, we were on the fracture. Do you remember that one? Mm-hmm. This wall here is actually that fracture. Now, by rights, this cave should actually go that way. And you can see them, those vertical-ish lines. Now, for some reason, when the cave was forming, the water found an easier path across the fracture. As you go through here, you have a look on either side of you. You've got these fingers of limestone coming in towards you. This is where you're physically crossing the fracture for a very short distance, okay? It rains. Waterfall. Waterfall. More rain, more rain, more rain. Noisy waterfall. Now, all the water that comes in here has got to go somewhere, so it actually goes down another waterfall to the lower levels there, turns, and once again, 6 metres below the footpath. Fingers from here on. So this is where you're crossing the fracture. What you've just done there is you've crossed the fracture. Now in front of us is a little bit of everything as far as formations are concerned. So we've crossed the fracture, the cave turns and it starts running with the fracture this way. This little pond here, folks, it actually comes and it goes. Over the summer months it completely disappears, it seeps away slowly. I'm not too sure whether you've noticed it in the cave, but this is a good spot to see it. When you look around here, do you notice anything different between this cave and the last one?
No glow rooms.
Yeah, no glow rooms. There is a few. There's some up here in front of us actually. But do you notice we've got two colours?
Yeah.
We've got white and brown,
Yeah.
different shades of white and brown. And if you look at things carefully, there's quite often different textures between the whites and the browns. Now, what has happened here a long time ago, everything in here today that you can see that is brown, it used to be white. Why did it change colour?
Chemical reaction.
Oxidize?
No, I don't know.
Different water.
Well, you mentioned water. Okay, at some stage there's been a massive flood. The water's come into the cave, it's had a lot of sediment in with it, so the water was actually like chocolate, dunk, right to the roof. Now the limestone in the formations, they're porous, they sucked in the colour. The water went down, the formations continued growing, thus you've got the whites blending into the browns. The white stuff that you can see today is the newer formation. It's growing over the top. It's engulfing the old brown stuff very slowly. There is a few glowworms up here. Now the reason we don't have many is the lack of food. There's no streamway. Here they are. These ones have got an alternative food source which you'll see very shortly.
That's why people got missing.
Camera a little bit. And look up there. Come right to the that's the one.
Oh.
Right on over.
Right in the mouth.
Just switch this way a little way, thanks. That's all. One tomo. Now, this one here, as a tourist like this, it is the only cave you can go into in Waitomo and see them from this angle. The only other way to do it is to do the adventure tourism trips, and this is the type of thing they get you to abseil or rappel down. Okay? This one here, the piece of rope is just over 20 metres long. This one's actually good because you can get your head around it. Do you remember I said cave start as that very small crack? You actually look at the wall in front of you there, you can actually see where the water is coming down the wall. It's trickling down the wall very slowly, and hey presto, that's what you end up, it just dissolves away the limestone. Now, these tomos, in the Waitomo, greater Waitomo area, there is thousands. We've got no idea exactly how many there are. Some of them are like this, they go down to a cave. Some of them go down to a rock pile, and the water that goes down that hole just disappears into cracks and ends up somewhere. Now what I want you to do here is to actually go that way, go right down to the far end and have a look up. There's no steps, I'll follow you all down. Away you go.
Glow maggots. Don't look up, guys. I just thought that we did this first move. See their belief.
Now we have to climb out, right? So this is like a book area where like some streets.
Now, to this part of the cave here, you actually walk 250 metres from the entrance to the spot. The cave does continue on that way.
Oh wow.
Now, this cave here actually physically joins up with the first cave that we're in a place called the flood caverns. Now, you cannot get into the flood caverns, not today. It goes down to this massive choke. It's a big rock pile, water can get through, people can't, it's just too tight and screwy. If you have a look over here on the floor, Rick the farmer, that is a black and, well, that was a black and white Frisian steer that he was chasing through the bush here about 50 years ago. It's launched itself down the shaft, kadoosh, and that's where he got up. As I said, 250 metres. Now look, everything that you walked across the top of today has been brought into the cave in wheelbarrows. This stuff that you're standing on at the moment, you know what that's made out of? The main ingredient is soft plastics like recycled plastic milk bottles. One of the main ingredients. This particular one is made in Melbourne, Australia. So it is concrete, plastic milk bottles, plus we've also got 4,700 stainless steel screws made in China. Now, the worst job in the whole project was those screws. It was backbreaking and monotonous. It was horrendous. Now, as I said, you look back this way. Caves start as the very small crack. Water has got into that crack, and over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, that's what you end up with. As we were coming over here, I said that the limestone in this area is 25, 35 million years old, which to most people actually sounds quite old. That is nothing. Nothing. In the South Island, we've got areas down there where it's 400 million years old. So this is extremely new. Extremely new. In the scheme of things. Okay, come this way, I'll show you something over here. Now the entrance up here. Tape. On the handrail here, there's a couple of bits of white tape. If you stand exactly where I am and have a look up, you have to stand right there. Okay? Can you see the tree? This one here, the piece of rope's 40 metres. You tie it around the tree and doom, doom, down you come. Hey, has anybody ever done any abseiling or rappelling? No? Just be aware there is a couple of steps. Now, you're going to go to that corner with that way.
Hi, Trace.
Get as many of the shorter people in the front, the taller ones can stand directly behind the short ones. So short people are here. Tall ones behind the short ones. And you're looking down that way. Perfect. You're a short one. Might have to squish up a little bit today. Just watch the steps here, ladies. Come on, this way.
Yeah.
Okay, now you people at the back, go forward and cuddle up to a person in front of you.
Okay.
Can you all see the bones on the floor?
Yes.
Now, a little bit unfair on you guys, but does anybody have any idea what sort of critter?
What sort of what? Critter this is?
Possum?
It's too big.
No, too big.
It's just too
Has
big.
anybody ever heard of a bird called a moa? Like this bird that lived here in New Zealand up until say 700 years ago-ish. Now to the average person, emu, ostrich-like. There was different types of moa. The small bush moas, fully grown, only the size of a turkey. This one here was shoulder height to me. Okay. The big ones, the really big ones, hey, they were up in my little red lighthouse on the roof in front of you.
Wow.
They were from all accounts one of the tallest birds that ever set foot on the ground. Now, this particular bird, what they think has happened walking through the bush, on the dump, falling down a tomo, hurt itself, bobbled over here and died around the 38,000 years ago. Now, the reason they can come up with a very specific number, one hand right again on the floor in front of you. Can you see there's a colour change in the sediment just there?
Mm-hmm.
You see the red line?
Yeah.
And there's a little tiny hole. They've traced that layer of volcanic ash back to a volcano that erupted on the other side of Lake Rotorua. Okay, when you look at the bones, here and here, that is the upper leg bones, the femurs. The funny looking bone here with the slots in it, this is the lower backbone looking from the inside. It's called the sacrum. That pointy bit just there, that there is where you get your hip replacement when you get a bit older. Okay, we've got the backbone, the neck, and the skull. Now, down near the skull, can you see those little things that look like rubber bands?
Yep.
Any idea what they are? You feel in your throat, you can feel the little ridges around your airway. Now, in a human being, they're cartilage. Molar, they're bone. They're called the trochanea rings, and they stop the airway collapsing so you can breathe. In the middle there's a little pile of pebbles. Now, birds don't actually have teeth. Molars would be walking through the bush, picking off vegetation, swallow it, send it down to the gizzard, use those stones to grind the vegetation into a paste before it went through to the stomach. In the front there's four little bones in a straight line. What's that one?
Legs.
Claw. That's the one. Toe, foot, talon. So these things here were actually quite large. Now, the reason they became extinct, when the Maori people arrived here, the moa was the only large piece of meat in the country. These things here were actually hunted and eaten to extinction. Oldest date on this cave, 1849. Now that was an Englishman that came in here looking for these. The bones that he got are actually on display in the Museum of Natural History in London. Waitomo Museum's got one exactly the same size. Te Papa, the museum in Wellington, worthwhile going to see. Yeah, a lot of museums around Waitomo, around New Zealand have got these on display. Okay, now just watch those steps when you come down. You can see through here exactly why this texture is sometimes called cave coral, because it does look like some corals. It's very fragile, very fragile. The little bones here on the right-hand side in a moment, folks, are from our very favourite Australian import, possum. And we don't like possums.
They're so small.
Okay, go that way, go right down to the far corner, right to the far end. We're going to stop in the cathedral, okay? I'm going to turn the lights off so don't go walking around, okay? That light that you can see down low is actually daylight coming down Tomo, so what this means is that air is getting sucked into the cave. It brings in a few little insects, low and good, lungs. Being the cathedral, the acoustics in here are not too bad. Does anybody want to sing a song?
Do you have a song in mind?
Any song you like.
Sarah. I've forgotten every song I know suddenly.
You don't have to be good, it's dark, we cannot see you.
I've legitimately forgotten every song. Trying to think of one.
No singers?
No, I am a singer. I just
Oh.
being
What sort of songs do you like singing?
choral music.
Yeah, go for it. Just
Yeah. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you away your rolling river. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you away. I'm bound away across the white Missouri.
well done. Now, I'm definitely not going to ask anybody else to sing. 'Cause that was really nice. Do you want to do another one?
No, I can't. Once again, they're just all escaping me. Every song I know.
You put her on the spot. Go that way.
Good job, Sarah.
I'm bringing you on, that's
Yeah.
my favorite choice.
So we've seen the Marion Conley mentioned.
The other thing, no one of these. He's got the monkeys, so many monkeys.
I can't remember where we're stopping this time. I can't remember where or what we're stopping.
No more lights, so.
I don't
Those
think
are
it's
instructions.
I was so focused on thinking about how great you're seeing this. Yeah. That would be fun to sing, like, wait. Oh my god. You picked a good one.
Me? What?
Yeah, you picked a good song. Never heard that before, but it's very.
It's the one we sang every single year. Which is why I remembered it.
It's cool, I just turned But it's cool how it like, it's not all